And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to APAC North League and Rainbow Six. It is again Stage 2 of 2021 competitive year, and we are getting ready for our second matchup. It's T1 versus Fnatic. Hello, I'm Milosh, this is Des, and this is Jess, and we will have a chat in depth about these two teams and what they have to offer in this matchup. I called it before a Korea versus kinda maybe in the future, hopefully Japan. Fnatic, as we still are hoping for them to make it to Japan sometime this year, but hey, you never know. We just want everybody to be safe and healthy in the meantime. And how about we talk about what we would consider the challengers, in this case, T1, our Korean squad that was picked up by the organization earlier in this year. Sieri, Crazy Boy, 11, Replica, and Nelio. There's some highlight players and a lot of potential in this squad.
Well, after a very, very shoddy and abysmal Stage 1, I mean, that's what you would expect of a team that's thrown together, trying to make things work. They've made quite a few changes coming in to this second stage, and they have one overtime win and a loss as a result. So while that overtime win means they're not on the bottom of the leaderboard, where unfortunately they got a little bit used to as of last stage, they brought in Nelio, a huge wealth of experience, and they got Crazy Boy, who we saw on the interview last Playday is, I mean, just that. He lives up to his name. He's awesome. He is absolutely awesome. Look, he embodies a really nice personality. I hope it's what has been elevating T1's gameplay, because sometimes the mentality just changing from round to round to going, maybe I say a joke, I break the ice, everyone calms down, relaxes the shoulder a bit, and the round goes on. So
that's why Em's here.
I mean, look, she breaks the ice all the time. She's the best. I love you, Em. She's laughing.
She just goes...
classic M, and I guess we're going to start calling it classic Crazy Boy on T1 side. On the opposite end, Des, you've been talking about Fnatic constantly over the past couple of weeks. You're saying this is the new team that we are expecting to perform at this level. Best strategy? What do you think so?
They looked last year like a team, I think, that were a little bit lost and weren't quite sure what they wanted to be, and they spoke quite extensively about how since Alfama's joined, brought over this NA structured mindset to the team, him now not being able to play with them due to visa restrictions, they've brought Mentalist back in, who's been having an absolute screamer of a stage, top rated for the team, 23 and 13 overall. Last week, he went 12 and 2 against T1 in their 7-1 thrashing. It was unbelievable to see, sorry, against Talon, actually, I'm a liar, in their second game. Week 1 was against Cyclops. That was actually a really close game and could have gone either way in my mind. We could be looking at Fnatic on a 2-0 here, having beaten arguably the strongest team currently in APAC in the side of Cyclops. My team to watch for this stage, absolutely. Watch out for their structure, watch out for their coordination on attack, because the way that they are attacking angles together, setting up vertically for executes, it's absolutely phenomenal, and every team should be trying to take some lessons from them.
Quite curious then to see what that is. That is a big vouch there. You know, I haven't seen
it. Went from Fav, and he just took all that fanboy and he just put it on Fnatic.
Begins with F. Chances are I'm behind it at some point. Fav are currently parts.
Because people put F in chat when
and
they
it's
play.
Fav. Exactly.
This is going to be fun, Des.
Me included. I have a bad time in ranks, you know this. I'm trying to get up to 0.4. It's like 0.37 right now.
We need to play rank together just so
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Oh,
you can't. You literally cannot.
I know. It's what, 700 MMR? Not 7,000?
No, not 7,000. That was screwed.
That's all right.
You need to stop stacking with Spoit.
Well, the head-to-head that is beyond what these two are doing, I guess, physically between them. Here it is, Crazy Boy and Stigs on the comparison. Jess, can you help me decipher the numbers?
Well, for Crazy Boy, and I'm glad we brought him up, we just spoke about him as a personality, as possibly being a really good mental structure for the team. He's also been a really good integration on the side of the flex support and main support on defense. He's done a world of hurt on opening kills somehow as well, which is a little bit odd given his role is that you just know that, and at the bottom there, of course, you can't see the words, but it is their cost rate, or rather percentage, and it's not as good as Stigs, but it just seems odd that he is doing crazy things on crazy roles, having crazy stats. You have to put it up there so people can idealize it.
That's because he's getting involved in so many entry battles. Last week, he was 3 and 3 on the entry as a support player, by the way. Maverick and Smokey plays.
Where's his entries?
This is the thing. 11 got 20 kills and was only 2 and 0 on entry. It's balmy. He's living up to the name of getting involved in these entry kills. And I wanted to raise him up alongside Stigs, who's playing the support on the defense, but the Ash on the attack, so more aggressive role. Between the two of them, both second rate on the team, both having sublime impact on both of their teams and their attacks. Really keen to see how today goes, because they will clash quite a bit, I expect.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to be both as well, by the way.
What is balmy?
Balmy, crazy,
like crazy,
mental.
Yeah.
You know the word.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know it.
Oh, well, there you go. Today, learning things with Des and Jess, apparently.
Well, England finally wins some games in Euro, and it's just not going to...
Impian told me that I looked like Jack Grealish earlier. I was so happy. It's what my whole life is going for. I'm going to dye like my tips yellow and all sorts. Soon I get a headband. It totally wasn't intended, by the way.
It's the anime arc of Desetru. I cannot wait for it. Jess, Des, thanks so very much. It is time for us to go into game, but let's see which map very quickly it is that we'll go to as our lobby is set. There's Fnatic that will go for Cafe Dostoyevsky. It is the attacking side for them on it. T1 will start off on the fence. Any favorites in this one with the way that's going on?
Not really, to be honest, actually.
No.
Like, you could look back at history if you wanted to, but I'm looking more here just at the fact the way these two teams are playing so far. 11 loves being out on the roam and causing trouble. Fnatic, with this new structured style of play, I expect to do well on the attack. Glad that they start on the attack in this case. Interested to see how it plays out.
I only have one game from the Korean League to look back on for T1, and I am sick of referencing regional leagues when the differences that have been occurring are just, you know, black and white contrasting. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say good luck, have fun to both of the teams. And if Fnatic show up again, it's going to be hard for T1.
I admire your strength in that moment, Jess. Thank you guys so very much. It's time for us to toss it then to our game, and I hope you're all ready for it because we want to see more Fnatic, and if T1 can really start advancing up in the ranks here, this is definitely the big team to try and do it against. On to our casters, though, for our second matchup. It's Hap, it's M. All yours.
Thank you. And Des, please stop saying Grealish. I think everybody's getting sick of it.
No, there is a good fact to the pack. If he's going to be as similar to Grealish now, means that he's only going to be around for about.
KD.
It means he's just going to only be around for about 20% of the game.
Oh, true.
And then he disappears into the bench.
That is
for a while.
In that case, I'm okay with that comparison.
One other thing that I was going to say, obviously, when we were talking about Des coming on with ranked, that was a content idea that I pitched the other day, where I know that we obviously talk about Jess's history as a coach. Is if she could coach the other 5 of us to be able to take a single round from a tier 2 team.
From a tier 2 team?
So it would be me, it would be you and I, it would be Ace, Des, and Milosh as the...
I'm just worried
do people think Jess could successfully get us to a state where we could take a round?
See, I think 4 of us are capable. I think Des is the biggest issue.
I mean,
his call-outs are not a skill. How are we going to get any information out of him?
That's never going away.
No, that's never going to go away.
It's going to forever be
haunting
there for him. Thatcher and Jekyll, both gone. I know that they were saying that things could kind of go either way here, but I think the structure that we've seen from Fnatic, I think that should theoretically carry them over Cafe. Because Cafe...
It should.
It can be such an orchestrated map and takes. It was, I know I said it the other day, for anyone that watched SI, I loved seeing Latin American SI because the takes were so orchestrated. It was so much of a setup. Okay, 3, 2, 1. You could physically break down what each of the 5 players were doing and when it was going to happen exactly. And I think that's what Fnatic probably have over T1 at the minute is, sure, Fnatic is coming to this with another slight roster change, but it's still within their realm. It's still within this sort of 6-person roster that obviously Mag was saying the other week. It's something that's working for them. It's something where they're kind of looking forward to going into the future with it. And as I said, this is a map that could really play well with that.
It could really play well. Get to see it now, and of course, like when the orchestra works, that is great, but you need a gun skill to back it up, and Fnatic have figured out the issue of winning their ones that they were struggling with throughout the 2020 season. And now bringing in the orchestra, bringing in the gun skill they have had, they're a real, you would say, contender for a top 3 spot at the end of this stage, which of course would mean a potential qualification to the Mexico Major.
No.
Which is, of course, where all these teams want to go, because that is where you gain the points for SI.
It's very cool. Very cool to be back into the swing of majors, I think. Obviously, we had the sort of delayed start to the most recent one because the movement of SI had to be in this extra position, which, you know, it was great to happen, but it put us in a bit of a rhythm. But now that we're sort of in, now that we're sort of locked down to what it was always supposed to be, quite excited because it really does give you so much more to fight for this split. It gives you that, like, additive.
Interesting opening there you saw from T1. Ankle holds and the high up holds for the head to try and peek from the shield. Not creating the full rotation, so that does mean that there needs to be utility used on the Fnatic side if they would like to rotate in there at some point. Of course, it's quite easy to take care of that shield if you have Either the Retiro drones, as we mentioned at the pre-show, or of course the Zofia. Can just quickly shoot in one of these impacts to open it up. Nice and easy. Sticks being careful though for a potential C4 to come out of the hatches. It's not uncommon for it to happen, so he's just holding, waiting, seeing if anything is being ripped, but not the case this time.
This is one of the ways that we sort of broke down the top of Cafe, is there's generally 2 different holes that you see, and Goyo is the build of the other one. I'm curious to see how those Tex drones, how the Roteros sort of dig in against those shields, because the battle of attrition that usually happened around Pixel, and then you would kind of hold up Pixel, and you'd fall back into the bathroom, and then you'd fall back into the freezer, and sort of take it as a step-by-step basis. It's a different story when you have the potential to try and roll these drones around, but Jaeger is, in the meantime, under a bit of danger. There's Crazy Boy. He was cited as being pretty involved in every single sort of entry engagement previously. They can't quite get the room and the space. They need to try and burn through these gates and see if they can just get rid of them, and that's probably where that utility's going. There it is. Gives them that 30-second window. It's on a regen. It allows them to start putting this pressure on to the back line.
And as the Retiros are attempted to be used to take care of some of the extra shields which are located around the freezer and in the pantry. It's of course being taken out because we have a player in the bathroom, we have a player playing close there, but as the Goyo shield now pops, that means that Piano is no longer able to be held as firmly as we'll be able to do so before. Smoke Canister will be tossed out, dealing a little bit of damage to Mentalist, but nothing too major yet, and as he's almost going to get his back shot out, he's going to be very aware of the fact that a player is near Pixel.
Yeah, and that's the swing round. Obviously, the way you could try and stop those Roteros is the mute, but that's not on the board. There's the burn through. They tried to put a little bit more of that Gemini into action there, but it was instantly removed, so probably didn't get all the intel that they otherwise wanted, so they've got to go for this slightly wider creep. Pixel, they just see the body slip past. They know exactly where they've decided to set up shop. The worry is that swing round, as it's instantly proven. They are still fervently watching it. Fnatic's found themselves in a little bit of a box, and they're just going to have to try and break their way through now. They are probably going to just go through Cigar Door at this point. The fight over this sort of Piano side would probably be a bit too tough. Maybe rotation over towards the Skylight as we see happening. There it is. It allows them to go for this hotter drop. They can get a little bit more chaotic, throw themselves in and take it as more direct firefights. They lose the first but they're able to pick up the second and the third. Suddenly it's Nelio trying to bring everything back together. There's just Replica left with a single body down. They're going to go for the stick. He's been able to creep into a pretty tricky situation. He has some of the pings, finds the first fight through, but it's a post-plant situation. They know exactly where he is.
It is being held though. The down player will be confirmed, and it's only up to Mag and Mentalist as we speak. Natural will be tossed out, but doesn't spot his right-hand side. Mag in the corner, just digging himself in. On top of that, Diffuser will pick up the final kill. As a result, that is round number 1 to Fnatic, and as you said, at that final mark, they're just going to start going from Cigar. They're going to start pushing themselves in, and with the rotation they made to the Skylight, they dropped in at the same time. They masked the sound of the player rappelling in from the balcony, which gives you that, well, multi-angle, multifaceted push. Still onto that side, able to take out the 1 and 2 side players, making sure you could push them for a retake.
The instant swap to the mute there to try and go against the Flores. And I'm wondering if this has been a lot of 6th Vic Mask, because the Kali has now been brought in as well. The obvious lack of the Thatcher. She does see a fair bit of play on this map to a team that likes to utilize her. This site especially offers itself, you know, those sort of long angles. You can butcher your way pretty much across half the floor if they've got that rotation on towards the red corridor, if you're able to get that opening wall open, which she will make a lot easier. They obviously read the mute jammers. They could have potentially played against that. The clash was there originally for the Kaid.
Yeah. Of course, Kali can counter clash as well. Every single shot will stagger the shield. I'm just wondering, there's a rotation towards red. No, not really a rotation, but again, open up ankle holes and open up the head-sized holes. Not sure if you can rotate through that by going prone underneath. I'm not sure if that's the point of it, that defenders can go in if they have enough time, whereas attackers, of course, will be exposing themselves quite a bit. Or if it's a different purpose. Either way. Second time we see them open it up this way, and sure that the analysts will be breaking that one down.
That's on them.
If we ask for them, you know.
And now, though, T1, You made a couple of adaptations here. We're seeing growth again. It's a rotation of the sites. You're sort of keeping the game hot. And it's a team that's been able to do better than they did on the previous split with the new additions. But they're still a team that finds a little bit more success on their attacks because they're usually built behind this combination. It was originally just 11. Now 11 has Crazy Boy to sort of stack up with. And the rest of the team, you know, they'll be able to fulfill their role, but it's generally traditionally where you've seen T1 do better as they can sort of direct themselves a little bit more behind the wake of that. And here, you have to try and rebuild, restructure around the push against Fnatic, who are a team, as they've already shown, that can adapt when there's only a handful of seconds left to try and find themselves a little bit more success. The bakery starts to fall. The pings are coming from Yeti. He's just going to slip past pre-fire and get behind a bit more safety. They're not going to try and hold it too much, I say, as he actually slips back ground, drops the Gemini, has the backup here of Crazy Boy, who could potentially try and long arm a C4 out the door as the grenades start to come through. There is the ADSs, those are slipped past. They're not quite popping off the flashes. There's a grenade that gets the first down. You expect the cover here. You expect a little bit of destruction from Crazy Boy. Is getting the second.
Oh no, he's
Gemini. There's the C4. Might get shot out, but it doesn't. But it doesn't quite fully catch anybody. And now Crazy Boy is also down. Mentalist finally gets the pick.
And now the Jaeger having to crawl back. Yeti trying to put himself into a position where he can hold out. Maybe he will be recovered. Of course, not going to be the case. The site has been taken. The kill is confirmed and 60 seconds are left. It is not even a vertical take that Fnatic is trying to pull for. They're trying to go fully horizontal here, and 11 is still on the top floor. He still has the opportunity to use these angles to an advantage and make sure that they will not be really pushing through prep. And now it's up to the side of Fnatic to either read that or to open up another angle to try and push from. That isn't really in control from said vertical angle, but with the Electro class still up, it is going to be very difficult to do so.
Now, with this extension, with the angle holds we were talking about before, you can sort of see that's the next point that they want to get open. But 11 does some opening of himself. The double, as you called, from above, he's able to strike and put a little bit of the spanner in the works. With only 20 seconds left, they still got to try and dedicate themselves to the push there. Accidental fire on the teammate, and 11's actually going to use that as a moment to get out of there. Doesn't want to spend too much time. Is going to try and creep around the back, potentially on to the bottom of the red staircase. But in the meantime, they've thrown themselves in, been able to find themselves just above. There is.
Oh, there's no clue.
A steady look. There isn't a take on Stiggs. A fantastic response to the play.
There's no way Fnatic should have won that here. They just decided to push him the last 20 seconds through prep. There was a vertical above that was not being watched as 11 rotated back down to try and offer some support. And, well, Fnatic, as a result, able to distract the one player on site, because you saw he missed the first couple of shots onto the player in prep. Thought he was going to be coming from the window, and as soon as he did, there was also a player moving through the doorway. They peeked it at the same time. He was only ever going to be able to pick up one of those two kills and was always going to be falling right after, but wasn't even able to pick up one at all. As a result, Fnatic now 2-0 in the lead in a round that was, you could say, scrappy. It was a good start for Fnatic. They managed to pick up two players very early on, and that also enabled them for the last second push we saw happen, because they had the, well, clear in that side of the map. Of course, they lost to themselves to 11 as well. But again, not much time left. They basically had no control, but Bakery, you shouldn't have let that happen.
No hides, no swaps this time round. The Kali pick wasn't the most instrumental thing, really. We sort of saw them just take the space that they wanted to, and whether it was down to T1 being a little bit too aggressive in the situations, obviously they doubled back down in Bakery. They could have slipped away and handed over the territory, but I think, you know, it's always that risk. It's, you're trying to play on the reward, and obviously 11 being able to strike from above was Fnatic moving in via prep into a space that they thought was entirely theirs. At that point, it became this kind of last dash moment, but you know, it's that sort of balance of Cafe, and that's why I said it's one where I think it's quite instrumental when a team has that synergy from a history of playing together and you're not really developing it. It is definitely an extra card in your hand for this map.
Definitely is, and Stiggs opening up these windows, of course, to create a bit of extra sound, makes you able to hear whether or not they are preparing the windows to go for a bit of a jump out. We'll be opening up the hatches as well in some quick fashion. There's a drone already waiting there, like, hey, open up, I need to go down. And Tax trying to get some information, knows who one of these pests is, but needs to make sure that he gets as much information as he possibly can As he checks out Piano completely, knows that will be clear, cannot continue his path, however, due to a second pass being near.
Yeah, they've sort of picked apart the back line here. They know exactly where they want to try and dig across, and they have more than enough utility. Yet again, we've seen the mute board as the change, most likely to try and counter those RC drones that otherwise can cause so much destruction because it's quick. And that's the big flaw in the plan they had on the first round, as they built themselves around the double down on stopping projectiles, as it used to be pre-Flores. In teams that don't like to bring it, you might not expect it, but Fnatic are a team that loves to dabble in new operators. They really enjoy exploring new possibilities inside a meta, and they're more than happy to try and put the pressure on 11. He's able to get the opener for the first time, and he's able to make sure that they have something to build behind. He is always going to be that player, but Mentalist is going to be the player that often strikes back. Replica gets caught as well, as Mentalist just digs all the way through. Fnatic have instantly swapped it back, but there's been a lot of bloodshed either side.
The fact that they managed to pick up Stiggs as the first kill is very important for T1 here, because that allows them to make sure that there is not much verticality that can come into play. Now, the two angles that are currently located are the two angles they have. Of course, they can still use the RCE Retiros if they feel like it, but that might be a little bit too long. It's a relative slow approach on opening up these verticals, and well, S-Tax now deploys one, might actually make one or two of these holes. Make sure that it will not be much more than that. I believe one already dropped into Laundry, not quite sure, as 11 is receiving a bit of pressure right here. Going about up to 10 HP. Going for a rotate up, that could be pretty big. If he manages to pick up these players right before they start dropping down, he has the opportunity of winning the round for T1.
Well, he sees the first. There is a second that's above. They're going for the plant, but the cover comes through. Tex was in the right place there. He thought that they were coming above. Obviously, as soon as the call, "I'm dead from round here," came through, they were quick to react. It was a setup for a post-plant hold, or a setup for a plant hold even, that worked, and well, now they've been able to try and piece things together. 3 in a row for Fnatic, and that sort of mid-round to late-round adaptation is coming through for them, and whether it's just that T1 can't quite put the pieces together when the puzzle's being changed or not, you got to give credit for Fnatic to do these quick reshapings to be able to punish.
You got to indeed, as we are going to a quick tactical. Hey, I just wasn't in no way
rushed. We were 100% ready for that to happen.
I quickly wanted to put my water bottle down, but unfortunately wasn't quick in time. T1, tactical timeout here. Going to be talking about what is going wrong. As you said, are they just struggling piecing together the puzzle, or is there something else going on? Whereas Fnatic is winning these important gunfights, because now 11 had the M3 kill. They managed to take down the sledge, which is very important for a side that we're defending. However, a little bit of a miscall coming through, because you got one more kill on Planks, then decided to stick around, even though the hatch was open. He was thinking of dropping, but then decided to stay. Mentalist took use of that, got the kill, and suddenly you lost the man advantage again, and Fnatic can push on from there. So it might just be some missed calls, some missed opportunities. The communication is not really going smooth at this moment. It could be any factor, really. And it's up in this tactical time at 45 seconds to try and solve whatever issue it may be, and hope for that timeout magic to occur for your team now.
Well, they've had it, and now they've got to see if they can build behind it. They've obviously opted to take it quite early. They lost all of their defensive rotations, and to be fair, it's a bit of a tricky situation. Even if you're a team that is very good on your attack, and even if you're a team that can attack well, you want to make sure that you at least have more than one opportunity of failure on your attacks, because otherwise you're in a very dangerous spot, especially against a team that is so adept at those late sort of changes that they need to make. Here, we've still got we've gone back to the doubling up of the Wamai and the Jaeger. They're not strictly playing that mute against them. They're sort of going to try and hold and wait for the push, and I'm curious to see what they change in terms of their positioning or potentially their movement here.
It could be many different ways, but for now, it is Fnatic that needs to reach the roof alive first. That is sometimes a difficult task as well. It doesn't look like right now T1 is looking to pull off a C4 play, something we have seen in EUL yesterday, where 2 C4s got tossed out on both the hatches at the very same time, making sure that the player who would be reaching that roof first will not be allowed to play at all. Not the case now, of course, as the Retiro is being sent in. Being held back a little bit, Jess, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, this is information game, but it was stuck on the roof for quite a bit. That's why I was debating if it was going to speed up. But takes care of a very important Goyo shield and takes care of an ADS there.
Wasn't the conversation about the speed of those like 2 days?
Yeah, that they would.
Okay.
Yes, but I said as well, like they start driving in circles on the roof every now and then, and I'm wondering why that is. So now
fun.
Jess has a little...
You ever played with an RC car?
Yeah, I did actually, but I didn't drive on roofs.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if that's something you're supposed to do with them.
If you had the cool one that could drive up walls. But anyway, we start to have that utility popped around. They're putting a little bit of earlier presence here, right deep back. Great removal there. Just drops the edge of the shield, and that's the power of those drones when they're not sort of slowed or stemmed. Exactly, the pace for them to be able to clear out the mid. They realized, Fnatic, before that it was a problem. They tried to have that rotation here around Christmas and around the piano side, but because they hadn't done that precursor work, it was still a good place for T1 to set up, and Fnatic had no option but to try and throw themselves in. Here, they still have the body above Skylight, they still have the presence inside Cigar, but at the same time, they're making sure they get this work done a little bit earlier and with a little bit more focus, so they have some options for pressure and presence.
Now, the good thing is every single piece of utility you can imagine has been taken care of. The grenade there from Mentalist will take care of Yeti as well, and that is a man advantage they can now use. Matt quickly trying to go on the drone, trying to find out where these players are. They know one is around bathroom/pixel, and that is going to be the next target. Spots one through the rotation. Lusty now trying to cut through, but a player from Planks could be popping up anytime soon. Now is Crazy Boy playing around here in that bathroom, able to pick up a single kill. Lusty knows he's still around here, but he needs to find his kill. He needs to cut it, but he goes off the angle at the very wrong timing. Tex, however, will be able to pick up that kill with 20 seconds left. It's only up to Replica and 11 now.
Well, the pressure here from Fnatic is spread all across the front face, and 11 and Replica being able to take some pretty filthy kills there have suddenly shifted everything back into their favor. They couldn't quite get past that last backline. It turns into this massive war where you have this big blanket of no man's land in the middle. And any take there is dangerous because there's no real cover outside of stuff that can still be shot through. You've got to just try and force your way against a hold, and I guess they just didn't quite have enough in their pockets to find that final couple.
It was so fun to see, though. Fnatic taking care of every single piece of utility within a minute 30. Everything. Like, all shields gone. All ADSs gone. Those power positions also put out of position, out of play. But then the gunfights don't go their way. Whereas in previous rounds, it was the gunfights that pulled them through due to the fact that they weren't able to clear out every single piece of it. And that means that the first round is on the board for T1. The first of the 4 that have been played so far, and round 5 and 6 are about to be played as well, 5 on the way. They need to make sure that they at least bring it up to a 3-3. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for them to try and outdo Fnatic on a map as Cafe, which is predominantly defense-sided.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that we've always sort of got to remember is, sure, when these teams, when we talk about their successes and their skills, you've always got to consider that statistically the map is still one that regardless of whether you're a team that drives better on attack on certain maps or not, it's one that does play towards defenders. It's one that does statistically have a better rate for defenders. And, you know, is it something where Fnatic, the more that they've sort of had time, they'll build behind that. They'll be able to build some synergy on their defenses and put the pressure onto T1.
Now, question, of course, will be again, see the extra heart breach, by the way, from Fnatic. Last time they lost stakes early on in the fight, and as a result, it's very difficult to open up the verticals that you are in need of. Of course, they had the Roteros to make that happen, but now there's a Mozzie on the side of 11, and you instantly see that the floors is gone, because suddenly there's a little bit of extra counter up there, because there is Mute Gemmers, there is Mozzie Pest. That means it's going to be difficult for the Roteros to come through. Instead, as they knew they were going to be attacking one of the bottom 4 sites, so either first floor or second floor, decided to go for extra soft breach to make sure that they have that extra, well, redundancy.
Spraying and sort of praying that they catch anybody that might be getting a little bit aggro here. It's a kind of steady removal of an attempt at utility. Mentalist, again, has been very, very good in terms of just getting in and causing problems. The last time they were attacking this site, he opened it up with a double for their team and was able to get quick responses to every single time T1 tried to put a response into them. More utility has popped early. Something that I guess Fnatic, as you pointed out, have been laser focused in being able to remove the consistency of them sort of going, oh, you have that there, not anymore, across all of their attacks and all their rounds has been so succinct.
It definitely has been, yes, and as Mentalist will be trying to toss over a grenade surely to get rid of an Electro Club, probably. It's going to be in C4 that gets tossed the other way, and that should give away that there is no Electroclaw on that side, because it's probably going to be below inside of reading, making sure that that wall will stay closed, and as a result, we will see a lot of the T1 players falling back, if not all of them, even tossing out some of these Nitros to, well, put up a little bit of pressure. Actually, still one left inside of the bathroom up on the top floor. It's 11, who else to try and make a big impact here? He dropped 20 kills last week. See if he's going to be reaching that goals again. At least he's on 5 now. He's doing quite some work for T1.
I think this is the longest we've had every single player still standing, and as the timer ticks closer, you're wondering if Fnatic are trying to force themselves into a position here. They've got some of that verticality. They had great coverage last time they stuck it here, and now they have the bodies to double down underneath as well. There is always this possibility of T1 being able to strike and take them out as they go for that rush and that mad dash in before, as we've seen them try and throw themselves into and play that objective in the dying 20 seconds. It's whether they can actually find those catches, those kills, those scrapes on the loose side. It starts here, and there's the spray over the first. They're going to see if they can stick it. There's no cover on the corner, but there is still a body that's by the long desk in the middle. Crazy Boy and Nelio are able to get that back fight, and as it goes down, they just slip out 40 seconds, and one more caught on the door. They're both outside externally. Gonna try and hock this grenade round the corner, but it's 11.
Oh,
that
he gets
hops
it!
out. He still gets it. Well, the martyrdom kicks in, but T1, they're almost flawless there.
Good retake coming down indeed, and I was actually looking at it because as soon as 11 managed to get the first kill onto the Zofia, you saw 2 more members coming up on the red stairs. So they went for a 3-man retake onto that top floor, managed to sweep them up there and sweep up Fnatic as well as they were trying to reach the outsides of the cafe. But of course, the bomb, the diffuser was planted, needed to be covered at that moment. Couldn't be done from the outside. Of course, you had the grenade to do it, but was just able to pick up 1 kill, not all 5. And as it gets run out on, of course, it's going to die right after. But just managed to get that last package up.
Okay, 3-2. They've been able to pull a couple of rounds back, and I like that, you know, one of the questions I had was after the team talk, what are we going to see in terms of changes of positioning? That was a great demonstration. Yeah. Obviously, it's a very different situation when you are in the sort of 3 versus 1 that 11 was in before, and he went for that rotate up the stairs towards there, where it's a 5 versus 5. But that's built on the positioning. That's built on the changes, because in terms of Fnatic's take, it was sort of the similar, if not the same. It was across the top, from the back line, droning Mentalist ahead and trying to clear the space. They didn't intently hold on to the top. They sort of left 11 in this sort of gambit situation inside the bathroom, and yeah, sure, he got the first body from then on, but you see 2 others, as you said. The 3-person retake on the top because they anticipated multiple bodies up here as there was before.
And you know how important the top floor is for a hold like that. As soon as the diffuser is down, the best way to hold it will be from that top floor, as you can have a direct line of sight on it, whereas if you want to do it horizontally, you need to be either in reading room or you need to be walking through that door to make sure that you can stop anybody from counter-disabling the diffuser. So by taking the top floor, that retake was almost already won, especially in the fact that it was a 5-on-2 situation right after. Made use of that perfectly. Either way, this time, last round, round 6. Still an opportunity here for T1 to equalize the scoreline for now, and Fnatic will be well aware of that. The last time they went to the bottom floor, they were struggling. They cleared out 2 players on the cupcake bar very quickly. However, it took them up until the last 15 seconds to finally execute onto the site and miraculously made it work as a result. And now they're just trying to clear out that top floor. A minute has passed already. Mentalist is only now reaching up the white hallway, pushing down the white stairs as we speak. And Nelio's just roaming below on the first floor. He should be the first one to find any form of conflict.
Wow, sprayed around the back of the stairs, and T1 are playing a much more hands-off game now. They've sort of realized that Fnatic were very good at getting in, getting aggressive, and being behind the takes and the pushes, and they don't want to play against that as so laser focused as it was before. They're making sure that they can have some attention, but they're also making sure they don't get punished. But to be fair, this take here on the bottom is a different take to how Fnatic played it before. They previously just sort of threw themselves in. 11 was able to strike on 2 bodies, and the change here for Fnatic to sort of say, well, we cannot just ignore that upstairs. We can't just ignore the potential of 11 to be up here again, or if anybody, so let's clear it out. Let's do this with the sort of standard up here on top take first, and maybe catch people with any of these grenades that could pop down. They still have green pocket. Yeah.
He's AFK on his drone. He's literally checking a cam right there. Check the corner, you will be able to get a kill, but where's he moved now? When he was opening up, he actually saw him sit there. Wasn't able to go for the kill because he didn't really... Oh, he's still there, actually. He's still sitting on that same corner. Crazy boy. He's completely exposed.
Crazy boy is crazy.
He's definitely crazy right now. He's in prep, but why would you expect anybody to be in prep?
He just lives up to his name so consistently, and you know, as you said, why would you really expect him to be in the position? He's finally caught out from above. They noticed that he's there, and Tex is able to get that kill, but he was there for a very long time on a drone. And,
yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like, sure, you're playing this slightly off position, but he wasn't looking up for the firefight above him. Unlike that started to explode upstairs. Neelio and 11 both go down. They went for a double attempt here. They've done a lot of damage, and it's, well, now instantly swung back around, but it's back and forth. They're going to see if they can try and stick it with the little amount of time they have left. Yeti is the last player. He's above. He's going to go down for a drop in a rotation. The diffuser's to his left, but he doesn't quite see it. He expected it on the other split sync rather than coffee, and now they've got to see if they can try and creep and crawl their way around. Oh, no, my mistake. It was on the other side of the wall, but still, there's one body right in front of him, down low. He doesn't quite make it out. He assumes Bakery, and they're able to cut him off. Lusty locks it round and puts us on 4-2 for the split.
Yeah, Lusty just stayed dead on the ground. He's like, I'm not moving. I'm not giving away anything.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm waiting for him to show himself to me, and managed to pick up that kill. With that, the round. T1 again trying to go for a very aggressive top retake, you could say. 2 or 3 members attempting to go for it. Unfortunately failed. And as a result, left only 2 players left on site. But there was not much time for Fnatic left. If they managed to drop the diffuser with one of these engagements, that would have been a potential round win for T1. So that's how close it is. Just a single kill or a single duel would have gone the other way around. That could have been a T1 round, and we could have been on 3-3 now, but the fact is that Fnatic is currently in the lead with a 2-point margin, and they did well on their attacks. They're now up to their defenses, which is statistically favored. It's always just waiting until we actually enter that game to see whether or not it is the case. And I know I don't play ranked at the same level as, you know, these guys do, but yesterday I was playing ranked, actually. And we had 9 attacking wins in a row. We were playing Border, and it was 9 times. Every single round was an Armory Border.
Was Dez in the stack?
No, I was playing with Union.
Oh,
Union
sweet.
Jack. It was Operation Get Union low enough ELO so we can play with Tim. We're 13 away.
The dream is to reunite the dream stack of Union and Tim.
We're almost there.
Then you do need to play with Dez. I don't know what Dez is.
I don't think Dez is high enough ELO to even play with Tim. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, tragic.
Dez is like Copper 1 or something.
Okay, 4-2 T1. Now you're on your attacks. We've complimented them before, and well, Fnatic, we've complimented your adaptability. So let's see if you can bring that into the hallowed halls of Cafe Dostoevsky. They're instantly going for their approach here across the top. There's the pop on the other hatch, but nobody is home there, so they're able to steadily pull some of this intel apart, see if they can get the drop on, I think it's Mentalist that's dug in with those mute jammers inside Cigar Lounge, waiting for any of this approach. Yep, he has a good gun set, he has those jammers to offer him some support, but if T1 can get a read on this, they could really shut him out. He's able to slip past And that was a dangerous run that he's still trying to put some pressure back on.
No chill mentalist here. He's just trying to run past, doesn't care about all the pressure that's being put down. Runs past an open window as well as he tries to make himself back up to the actual site by rotating up to the white stairs. It's a very dangerous move that he made, but he made it stick and now has the opportunity to join back with his brothers onto the side, making sure that, of course, they can hold on for now. Bit of worry here for T1. There is the Syria laser gate, which of course cuts off any form of rotation through that double door. Means they have to use a piece of utility to burn it and to make sure that it is going to be a safe passage. Of course, they have created a rotation as well, but you just want to make sure that everything is open up to some extent. As they're trying to get these drones in, they're hoping to find out if there is any more pieces of utility placement. Won't be able to do so.
Now with Tex all the way downstairs, I'm curious to see when he decides to come back round. They have some idea that not everybody's around, but it's a very far away ROM. It's a very far away play in a situation where often you'll see a body underneath around train that could, you know, potentially lob a C4 up. They'll have prepped angles and holds. And here it seems like they've kind of gone, okay, well, we have enough of a clearance of space, and that allows Tex to do this. Creep his way up, 40 seconds left. He's been able to get right round the back, sprays on the first, just gets the kill and the lock off. The canister catches him, but he needs to be out of there, whatever happens. Goes underneath to where the opening is. Nelio is the next to follow to Tex again from underneath, and it was. Got them on the rotation of the hole and the explosion, and what a double. Two different stories, two different diffuser carriers dropped, and one huge play, leaving only a handful of seconds for them to see if they can stick it. 11's got a bit of a shoulder cover, but the C4 has more of an eye than it needs to. There's Tex for a triple, leaving just 11 isolated in the cigar shop, spraying through a smoke, but a flawless is the only thing he sees on the other side.
Razor Boy quickly grabbed the diffuser after Tex took him out through that, of course, vertical that was there to guard the rotation made into Piano. Ran over to the other side and tried to go for the plant. It was only 2 seconds out when a nitrous cell hit him. As a result, of course, Fnatic able to snowball on the back of that. Now 2-5 up, one more round the wave, potentially picking up a point and being the only team today in this matchup that has the opportunity to fight for 3 in that case. So a lot of pressure is on T1 for now. They had a timeout. They didn't manage to come back for 2 rounds, but it looks like Fnatic, now with 2 rounds in a row themselves, are back in the driver's seat of this matchup. And this time on the defense. Reading room fireplace will be the site we will see. And there is a castle on the board, meaning that the barricades are going to be making it a little bit harder for them to move through. Of course, there is going to be a sledge. His primary objective will be to open up these barricades there where possible. Of course, the Ashen, the Sophia, and even the Hibana can all fulfill that role by using some of that utility. Just as, you know, the double X Kairos will do the job just fine, for example.
It was a great lead in there. It was a great sort of opening here, and if I'm going to talk about teams that are doing adaptations and changes and responses to each other, Yeti with the Nomad, that's probably the wisest pickup at the minute. That's probably the wisest play and change there. It was obviously something where they were punished. They were punished mercilessly by this loose player, and, you know, sure, he was able to pull off a triple. So it almost feels like a bit strange being like, oh, if he'd have been cleaner on the first, he could have got more. But at the same time, it shows that there's still this room of growth. Like, even with Fnatic making kind of shaky moments like that, where he almost couldn't lock off that first kill, they're still able to build such a great stand where if you don't look into cancelling that play sooner rather than later, you're not too far away from Tex building more confidence and Tex getting a 4K and then potentially an ace from those sort of plays.
You could almost say that Jaeger getting the recall change was the reason why that wasn't a straight-up kill. Made him stick around a little bit longer. Didn't manage to matter in the end. And Tex now, here's the Ash charge going off. The Piano will be droned out, and Tex's position will surely soon be, well, discovered, as the drone is able to dig in deep. And as a result, Dusty has to fall back just a little bit, because there is still the second layer to the onion on that top floor, which is the shield inside of the bathroom, the player on the balcony, and the cocktail bar. Making sure that they have the opportunity of fighting from it that way. As the castle barricade is being opened up, they find some verticals that they now have to worry about.
Well, Lusty's holding on for as long as he can. He has a lot of discs and a lot of ADSs to burn through. As we said, this was sort of that change-up, because he's also got the mute jammers as well. And that's just to make sure that even if there is a Flores on the opposing side, an operator that Fnatic have already demonstrated is fantastic at removing these, they have that safety with this shield. They have that forward front and the hold. The flashes start to come through, some burnt, and enough for him to realize it's getting a little bit hot. They're still burning utility. And ends up just being a swing around the side that might be the take. They have some of the attention here. They have some of the cover. They're going to open themselves up, or at least try to get it fit on. But in the meantime, Mag, from underneath, is able to punish Yeti. I believe that was just through the hole towards it. And 11 is going to see if he can pull some pieces back together here, try and apply some pressure back.
Very well aware of the opening here in the barricade, and Max should now be aware of 11 being in the museum entrance as well. Crazy Boy, in the meantime, on that top floor, trying to take some control desperately. Putting up that breaching charge will be opening up a great line of sight, but everybody on Fnatic's side will already have rotated out by the moment. And that would have been able to be used by any of these members. Androsel will be pulled, holding for the next opening to be created to make sure that it could be guided in well, but in the meantime, it's an execute right there, trying to go for the default plant.
Well, Nelio's going to go deeper, take the fight, but Tex cuts him off and cuts one more. A double for Tex, pops to a different gun to try and find the third, and the spray comes through, gets the drop, killed with the C4. No, Mag stole it. We have it on footage. Mag locks it up. It was instinct, maybe.
Explain thyself.
Explain thyself. 6-2. It's mapped and marred by the... I guess it's got the live ranking in the top right as well.
Yeah.
But it's the other way around.
Fav still has to play, though.
Fav do.
So for now, it is indeed Fnatic second. If they, of course, win it here, take the full 3 points. But they might end up being third place at the end of the day when, of course, Fav comes around and potentially picks up some of these points. But yeah, after a abysmal 2020 and a, well, somewhat disappointing stage one, you can almost say, because they wanted to do more than that, this is definitely a place where they would feel comfortable at.
It's great to see. It's the Fnatic that you sort of remember. It's the Fnatic that, you know, and to be fair, it's the Fnatic that we got examples of in the previous splits, because there were game days where...
Saw potential.
Yeah. There were game days where you saw them light up, and as I said early on in this, when I was talking about their sort of adaptations, that was always their, for me, one of their strongest suits, was their love of moving into the new potential of a meta, their love of exploring the new options. You know, there's generally two different types of teams in Siege. There's the ones that love to push the envelope and the ones that look to perfect it. And they have always been a team, for me, that tries to push it, and sometimes it doesn't quite hit the mark, sometimes it does, but it's built on the synergy of the team. It's built on how used to the league you're in, how used to each other you are, and they're a team that didn't quite have that solidity for a while. So that pushing the envelope was often a little bit shakily written. Here, though, the consistency over the past few play days, it's that sort of classic Fnatic of...
It is. And it's the beauty as well, Siege, that every 3 months the meta shifts. There's new operators coming in. Here is Crazy Boy almost takes care of Lusty, I believe. I was going to say, sometimes the meta just does not suit you as a team, and sometimes you are just held back a little bit more than you would maybe prefer. There's now Fnatic able to step up big, even though 2 players almost losing their engaging firefight. For now, at least, they are alive, and for now, they will continue to put pressure down. And as the drones are coming to rain in, Lusty, of course, knows that we are attacking or defending the bottom floor, the basement. We do not need to hold this with our lives. We can just fall back to that first floor, or second floor, rather, because that's how we count in this game.
In this game. American count.
And hold back there.
I think that's it. We're looking at a minute's gone, and they're still playing around that mid-floor. They still have vertical control, and T1, you know, they're cautious. They've got maybe 1-2 bodies across the top floor trying to put pressure on right now. It's still very spread out. There's still a lot of drones working, and it's just more time that Fnatic are sort of playing away from. The spray around the corner of white almost confirms. There's Mag yet again striking on downed enemies. As unfortunately at this time he'd lost one in the trade in the setup, but it's again that very quick strike. You look at what they've lost. The sledge is gone. Those grenades are removed entirely. It makes this verticality that T1 have been fighting tooth and nail for sort of not pointless, but way harder to utilize to the level they want it to.
It's definitely going to be way harder now. The breaching charges, for example, that are coming through. Of course, you can also use some of your Selmas, you can use the impacts on the Zofia, but that's about it for T1. So we might see a more horizontal approach where they try and take care of VIP and try and push through from the freezer. I'm not sure if that got reinforced in the process right after. I believe there was a rotation in it for a while, but sometimes these teams keep a reinforcement in hand to make sure that they can close it off right after. No, okay, so there is still the opening there. So that gives them the opportunity to run through it and maybe even drop that hatch if they feel like it as a very last resort way.
Having to utilize anything that they can to open up some angles, but this floor is pretty much entirely still put together, so it's going to be a bit of a rush behind the backing of a couple of stuns either side. But the Echo Drone still well watching, and Mag lying down with a shotgun ready to cut a man in half, waiting for a second, and the second gets them instead. They've got to try and stick it. There's still an Echo Drone. This is Fnatic's game. It was entirely their pace. Very well played from them today, and T1 just could not find a way into Dostoyevsky.
No, and of course 11 had some great moments with the flanks he managed to pull off, and that was being accompanied by a good retake onto that top floor as soon as the reading room fell into the hands of Fnatic. But that was basically the biggest moment that T1 had throughout the game, because overall it was Fnatic leading the charge. It was Fnatic in the driver's seat, and it will be them that pick up the 3 points as well, and for now hold the second place in the league.
You got to give credit to them. It's fantastic to see them sort of re-emerging. T1, it's unfortunately some of the, I think, the weakest that their new roster has played, but again, I don't think the map selection helped them.
No.
I think they were put in a tricky spot by a Fnatic that was just all over the place, and, well, we'll throw it over to our desk and see what they have to say about it.
Thank you so very much. Yes, we are back on the analyst desk, and